Hi friends, welcome back to The Glowing Prescription. This is your source for professional skincare knowledge on YouTube. My name is Nai, also known as LA Beautyologist on both Instagram and Twitter, and welcome back to my channel. Now this topic that we're covering today is very important. Purging versus irritation. It's important because knowing the difference can be the difference between glowing skin and angry, very mad, irritated skin. It is possible to know if a product is breaking you out or if you're just purging, but sometimes the answer isn't so straightforward. So I'm just gonna tell you ahead of time, you may want to, pull out a notebook and write down what I'm saying, screenshot the words on the screen so you have these for reference. I've teamed up with my esty friend Hadia. She's an esthetician out of Oakland, Fairy Glow Mother on Twitter, and Fairy Glow Mava on Instagram. If you learn better by reading, I'm going to have all this information in the description box with a link to her blog post. Okay, let's get started. First, of course, we have to define the difference between purging and irritation. For the sake of simplicity in this explanation, I'm going to define irritation as a lot of different things, but we'll go through them. All you need to really remember is that purging is good and irritation is bad. Got it? Okay, so let's start with purging. Purging is the process of congestion deeper in the skin coming to the surface, becoming a pimple, and eventually healing. And to be honest, it sucks. Purging is the gets better before it gets worse type of theory when it comes to skincare. Now what you need to know is that purging only happens with ingredients that encourage desquamation. In simpler terms, these are ingredients that either speed up turnover, exfoliate, or encourage the skin cells to shed. So that includes alpha hydroxy acids, all of them, lactic acid, glycolic acid, mandelic acid, malic acid, tartic acid, all of them. BHA or salicylic acid, all retinoids, prescription and over-the-counter, and benzoyl peroxide, because these are ingredients that interact directly with your skin's moisture barrier. Pimples often start deep in the skin before you can even see them. Sometimes they're starting 6 to 8 weeks before you even realize a breakout is gonna happen. Now, when you speed up your cell turnover, you're also speeding up the life cycle of a pimple. So not only will it appear on the surface of the skin quicker, but it will also heal faster. And that healing faster part is really something you wanna look out for when you're using a new product and trying to assess if it's good for your skin or not. Your breakouts healing faster is something that I always tell my clients that you want to look out for, because that means that your skin is getting healthier. Generally, purging lasts about 4 to 8 weeks, so it requires a bit of patience, but there's really not much you can do, and you have to just let purging run its course. The biggest, most important tip for purging is to support your routine and the active ingredients that you are using to treat whether it's acne or hyperpigmentation with very hydrating, healing products. For every 1 or 2 very strong active ingredients that you have in your routine, you want like 2 or 3 hydrating products to balance it out. When your skin is hydrated, it has an ability to heal a lot better. It is an environment that promotes less inflammation, and your active ingredients are really just gonna act a lot more smoother when your skin is hydrated. So remember, using very healing, hydrating products along with your super strong powerhouse products will lessen the severity of your purging. Now let's get on to irritation. Like I said earlier, irritation can be a few different things. Contact dermatitis, an allergic reaction, and increased inflammation are sure signs of an irritation. Now let's start with contact dermatitis. Contact dermatitis generally constitutes as little tiny bumps that look like a rash. They often appear along the jawline and around the mouth, but not always. Sometimes there's redness present, sometimes there isn't, but a common theme is that people always describe this as their skin feeling like sandpaper. Very textured, very dry, very unhappy. You'll know if you have contact dermatitis. Causes of contact dermatitis could be using too many new products at once. You could also be using too many products with different active ingredients at once. You're using products too closely to your menstrual cycle, and or you're overusing a specific skincare active. And honestly, I see contact dermatitis happen fairly often. An allergic reaction will happen on your second or subsequent use. That's your immune system being introduced to an ingredient and then realizing that it doesn't like it. Allergic reactions look like hives, itchiness, redness, swelling, and also dermatitis. And an allergic reaction can only truly be diagnosed by a doctor after an allergy test. Now, there's a lot of things in this world that are allergens. And like I said, there's really no way to know for sure what you're allergic to without an allergy test. It's very individual and very much on a case-by-case basis. But ingredients that people are allergic to aren't inherently bad ingredients, just like peanut butter or almonds aren't inherently bad foods. Some people's bodies just don't like them. But it's really, really important to know what triggers you and what you should avoid. And unfortunately, sometimes it takes a bad reaction to figure that out. Now, inflammation I would describe as a further redness and swelling of existing pimples. And some people confuse this with calling their breakout cystic. Cystic breakouts only exist very deeply in the skin, and it's very unlikely that a product will give you cystic acne. But what a product can do is make your existing acne a lot more angry. And lastly, new pimples in areas that you don't typically break out in, I'd also consider inflammation and irritation. Now, there are a lot of causes of irritation as well. One of the main things is that irritation can be caused by any kind of product. From a cleanser to a moisturizer, no active ingredients, a ton of active ingredients, doesn't really matter. Irritation can actually be treated pretty quickly when correctly identified. The worst thing to do when you have irritation is to lean in and continue to use the products that gave you irritation in the first place. And it can make sense when you see a red bump or pimple to reach for the salicylic acid or benzoyl peroxide or glycolic acid, but don't. Instead, put all your actives away and reach for very hydrating, calming, and healing products. Introduce hydrating products with lots of humectants and water and anti-inflammatory ingredients. A gentle cleanser your skin loves, a hydrating toner, a hydrating serum, a light moisturizer, a creamy moisturizer, a thick heavy moisturizer, and an occlusive are all very solid go-tos any skin lover should have. I mean, we've all been there, right? We've all over-exfoliated our skin or done a combination of things that lead to irritation, and it's okay, it happens. So here's my advice on how to bring your skin back to life and health when you have a serious irritation. First, you'll want a very gentle gel or creamy cleanser, like the most boringest cleanser you can think of. That's not Cetaphil. Next, you want to layer at least 2 levels of hydration. 3 is ideal. So what this would look like is like using a hydrating toner, a light moisturizer, and a heavy moisturizer. Or you could use a hydrating toner, a hydrating serum, and then an occlusive. Or a hydrating serum, a light moisturizer, and a heavy moisturizer. Use what you have, but make sure you're not using these products for the first time. They need to be tried and true products that you know your skin loves, so you won't possibly add to the irritation. Now, an optional step after your 2 to 3 hydrating products is to use a mask. I'm kind of optional when it comes to masks. They're not a huge benefit, but in this instance, your skin could use all the love it could get. Masks with ingredients like aloe, oat milk, and honey are the best ingredients that you're going to need to look for. Sheet masks are also another option because they're all really just hydrating masks with serums infused, so that's pretty straightforward. But again, make sure it's not a new product for you. It's something that you know and trust won't irritate you. And lastly, this is not optional, you need an occlusive. An occlusive is a heavier ingredient that's going to seal moisture into the skin. It's going to prevent water from evaporating from the surface of the skin, also known as transepidermal water loss, or TEWL. TEWL. Now, a very thick, heavy moisturizer can be considered an occlusive. CeraVe's Healing Ointment is another excellent example of an inclusive. These are ingredients with ceramides and lipids and cholesterols and fats that will create like an anti-water layer that won't let water evaporate out. You need to be obsessive about keeping your skin hydrated and moisturized during this time. Morning and night, stick to this very simple routine. Make sure you're using a heavier occlusive at nighttime. You can use a lighter occlusive in the daytime, like marula oil or rosehip oil. And generally it doesn't take too much time, usually like 4 or 5 days, up to 7 days to really get your skin back to normal. I'd still probably wait maybe like another 3 days before using any interestingly strong actives again, because you don't want to re-irritate your skin. Now here are my recommendations for preventing irritation and making sure that you can identify the difference between purging and irritation in your skin. Firstly, use one product at a time when you're introducing new skincare into your routine, unless otherwise confirmed by a professional. When you introduce one new product at a time, about 2 weeks in between using new actives and about 3 or 4 days in between using new non-actives. This will let you know which product specifically your skin doesn't like, if at all, and it can prevent 2 unknown products not working that well together. The second thing that I want you to always do is to audit your skin before you start. Take a look at your face before you start any new skincare product. Where do you break out? Where are you usually dry? Where do you have areas of hyperpigmentation? What are your goals? Where do you have redness? Normally, I wouldn't recommend staring into the mirror that intensely, but in this instance, you really want to know what's going on so when your skin changes, you're aware of it. If you usually break out on your chin and on your jaw and you start breaking out on your forehead or cheekbones, that's going to be a sign that maybe something isn't going very well. But if you audited your skin first and saw some congestion on your cheekbones and forehead before you started, that will help you know that it's probably just purging. If your breakouts get redder and angrier when you start using a product, that's probably irritation. And lastly, you always want to patch test before you start new products. You can patch test here on the inside of your elbow or behind your ear and your neck kind of area. Give the product a little dab, wait about 24 to 48 hours, no reaction, you're good to go, hopefully. Hopefully this helped. Let me know in the comments if you have any crazy stories about some, crazy skin thing that you did that led to irritation, or your success stories with purging and maybe, you got through the worst of it and now your skin is beautiful and glowing. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share, especially if you learned anything new today. Again, in the description box, I'm going to link a blog post from my ST friend, esthetician in Oakland, Hadia, Fairy Glow Mother on Twitter, and Fairy Glow Melva on Instagram in the description box, so you can also read all this information as well there. This is The Golden Prescription, your source for professional skincare knowledge on YouTube. My name is Nai, LA Beautyologist on both Instagram and Twitter, and thank you so much for watching. And remember, if it doesn't feed you, don't water it.